I was actually talking to Bob Leary last night, and he was telling me that he knows you.
Yeah, I've known Bob for a long time.
That's
Yeah,
what.
back in his old Delhi days. I'm a high school lacrosse coach as well, and one year there was a group of I think 4 or 5 of my guys all went to Delhi one year.
That's awesome. Where do you coach high school?
I'm the coach at Penn Academy.
Oh, all right, that's right. Bob told me that. Yeah, you've got a pretty impressive resume going forward to this. How how excited were you though to get the call for the pro job to be able to be the Renegades coach?
I was real excited. I was curious. I heard about it, and I found out that Steve Donner was involved down in Elmira. So I called Steve and drove down there and met with him, and he kind of explained the mission of the league and the direction that it was going. And I really thought it was something that I really wanted to be involved in. Big.
Perfect. Sorry about that. We have had all kinds of rain with this. It's been nuts.
Just windy here right now. A little bit of sleep, but wind is howling.
Yeah, that's we started with the rain and now the wind. I'm sure stuff's getting crashed all over the place. So you are the Elmira Renegades coach, and you coach at Penn Academy. And
Yep.
where did you find you were getting most of your players from?
I got most of my players from we have got Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, kind of that surrounding area. We got a couple guys from down in the Albany area. But most of our guys are, in that Western New York area. We got a couple guys that are flying in from Long Island. A lot of the guys I've known, I've had experience with when I coached in the MLL for a number of years. And when I coached with Team USA. So we've got a lot of guys that I'm really, really familiar with.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was so impressive to me was all the coaching experience you've had all over the place. I mean, you have seemed to coach lacrosse at pretty much every level of the game, and now to be back involved with it at this pro box level, and your roster looks amazing. Yeah, I just know some of the guys on it, and you guys look phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about how our roster developed. Reached out to guys, and a lot of guys were interested. I thought we did real well in the initial entry draft, and then free agency. Kind of, as you know, lacrosse is a game where everybody knows everybody. So word kind of spread. Hey, this guy's interested. That guy's interested. So I kind of leaned on some of those former relationships that I had with some of these guys to especially in the free agent market, brought in a real good group, and then kind of finished that off in the supplemental draft.
Yeah, I mean the two guys that I know the best on your rosters, you've got Justin McKinney and Lucas Maloney. They're about 40 minutes south of me, and I try to cover them on the when they play for the Collar City Kings. Now, Justin is a great two-way player, very hard nosed, very knowledgeable, and he coaches everywhere. So like his lacrosse IQ is through the roof. Whereas Lucas has that really like playground style almost with some of the way he scores goals. It's funny because they same team and they play together all over, but two completely different styles.
Very, very much so. And I signed Justin as a free agent. His I really didn't know him. His bio on the player portal, where the players submitted, kind of interested me. So we talked. And then he brought up Lucas. I didn't have any idea about Lucas Maloney. So Lucas can thank Justin for me bringing him on board. But they certainly play very, very different styles. Lucas is kind of a pinball backyard guy, where Justin is more, he. What we've really found that we like about Justin is he can play both ends of the floor. He's a guy that might be on the power play one time and he might be on the man short the next. Just a very versatile guy, and just carries himself like a pro already.
Yeah, great guy. Runs a good shop down there. I see him coaching all over the place. Now, with all these new rules that came in, what is going to be different for you, or what was like the biggest change as far as you thought with these rules?
And it's the subbing piece. Be with only being able to sub out the door that is closest to your goal that you're shooting at. It changes things up. And we the first weekend of training camp, we were out in Gillette, out in Buffalo, and the doors were about 8 feet apart, which made it pretty easy. Then we got to Elmira last week, and okay, these doors are about 20 feet apart. This is a little interesting. And it took us it took us about a quarter to kind of figure out, how we wanted to sub. And really that piece of the game, I think if you watch the games throughout the year, I think you're going to see different patterns develop with different teams on how they use that rule to their advantage, or try to take advantage of other teams using that substitution rule. So there's going to be some give and take, and I think some adjustment on the fly with that rule in particular.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I noticed. I was able to watch the one scrimmage of Syracuse and the Bombers, and watching that is just how they approached it, and even the different halves, how the coaches kind of changed the way they were doing things. And like you said, there's going to be a lot of adjustments on the fly. What did you think of the penalty shot rule? I thought that was really good for fans, and
I really liked it during our exhibition game. We only had a few penalties, but in the fourth quarter, when the game was very tight, we actually took advantage of it and scored on two penalty shots. So right now I'm a fan of it. When we're sitting in the, when we're sitting in the box or on the other end of it, it might not be as much fun, but it adds a neat little twist. I think it gets the fans excited, and there is some strategy to it.
yeah, it really kind of changes the way. And so, my understanding, if there's a major, you can kind of split it up and get penalty shots and some time served.
And that's what we did on a 5 minute major. We took a penalty shot and scored, and then had a 2 minute minor. So we had gotten, I believe, a 2 goal lead. So then we kind of, used that 2 minute minor to bleed some clock. So it's an interesting twist.
Yeah, it is, and I think one of the big things is like the way this league's going with that athleticism and kind of keeping everybody on their toes. These first few games, I think, are going to be some of the most interesting games that have been played in quite a while because it's such a different rule change. You've got so many players that are so hungry to be pro lacrosse players. A really good mix of guys who have played pro and, like you said, guys like Justin who already act like a pro have been around that in and out of camps for quite a while now. And how do you find the your younger players kind of adjusting to this?
Guys are eager and guys want to play. We practiced last night in Elmira, in the face of, guys knew bad weather was coming, and they still rolled in and we had a great practice. They are very committed to this, and a lot of these guys just want an opportunity. They haven't been afforded one, in the NLL, and it gives these opportunity to a lot of guys who wouldn't get it other ways. And they're taking advantage of it, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, it is because so many lacrosse players, like you said, they drive in bad weather. They drive all over the place. There's guys driving 3 hours to play a pickup game, in men's lacrosse just to get their sticks
Yep.
in the hand and get on the. It's something that I think really separates lacrosse players from a lot of other athletes because they really have to drive and find where they're going to play.
Very much so. I just signed a kid yesterday. He's a Canadian kid. He lives up near Toronto. He'd called me 3 or 4 times, and we had an open spot. And I kept thinking to myself, this kid really wants a job. I said, can you be in Elmira? It was noon. Can you be in Elmira, 6:30 tonight? He looked at it on the map and says, I'll be there, coach. Signed him to a contract last night.
Yeah, that's
You know,
that's amazing. I mean, and that's got to be so cool. Like you said, the persistence paying off, and it shows all your players. You got to stay hungry. This is a very competitive league. And what have you thought about the goalie pad sizes? I haven't gotten to see that yet.
um, it's interesting, and I think that I think it's going to be good. I think it's the goalie pad size in coordination with the smaller nets than the NLL. There's going to be some goal scoring. It's not going to be as much of just the I'm a big blocker, but it's interesting. The changes are subtle. The shoulders are a little more rounded and not as squared off as the great big pads. But I think it's going to be the athletic goalies. The bigger athletic goalies who can move are going to be tough to score on.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing you can't take away is size of somebody. And like you said, if you've got a big athletic goalie who knows how to play position and get out on those angles, it doesn't matter if you give him small pads. If he's in the right angle at the right spot and he's athletic enough to get out to it, because that's one thing with lacrosse is the goalie has to be able to get out and then be able to get back to the back post, kind of similar to hockey. But
Yeah.
if you just have that big heavy set goalie who doesn't move well, they kind of fall behind. I just went through that old one. That was funny because the first time you see me lose power, and then 7 minutes later you lost power. So,
Yep. I didn't get it back for about 6 hours.
oh yeah, we made out way better than you. Mine flipped right back on. So I guess we'll get on the cross here. So Brian Hobart, coach of the Elmira Renegades. So we had a chance to talk. We talked a little bit about some of your guys. The power got cut off. So I'm going to splice that one in to this conversation. So when everybody sees you change clothes, it'll be like, what happened? But where we were kind of going when we lost power there was you. We were talking about like the goalie equipment sizes and how that's affecting the game, and basically how have your goaltenders adjusted to it? Is it a big drastic? You said the shoulders are kind of shaved down and pads are a little smaller, but
Yeah, they were doing all right. I mean, the biggest thing is with the goalie pads is they're very stiff before they get broken in. So that's what my guys spent a lot of time the weekend that we got them trying to loosen up the shin guards, loosen up, just kind of get a more comfortable feel to everything. Everything was, the big heavy padding isn't quite broken in yet. So our guys spent a lot of time, stepping on them and kind of, manipulating them with their hands, just trying to break them in a little bit.
yeah, that's got to be tough, and especially goalies are kind of accustomed to wearing, like you said, a chest protector for several years, leg pads for several years. You kind of get your things broken in.
And they're a little finicky. They all have their own little, the things that they like. So to get a brand new set of, complete, pants, shin guards, and the uppers is a big change for some of these guys.
Yeah, at least they let most of them keep their sticks unless you were using one of the big wooden walls there.
Yeah.
Now, where did you get your goaltenders from? Who are your goalies?
We have three goalies. We have Davy Jones. He's an older guy. He's from the Onondaga Nation, very experienced. We have Jack Runkle, who's an American, one of the few American goaltenders in the league. He won a national championship actually at Loyola back in, I think, 2012 maybe. He lives in New Jersey. And our third guy is a 19-year-old, Gage Stevens from the Cattaraugus Reservation.
Nice.
So we've got, Gage is 19 and Davy's 38.
Yeah, that's huge though. Is I think there's so many of these teams. You everybody's kind of mixing. You bring in some older guys that have been around, played a lot of lacrosse, and then some of these younger kids kind of coming in. How does your roster as a whole kind of break down? You guys, is it like young kid heavy with maybe like two or three older guys, or is it?
Most of our guys are, between 25 and 30. We've got a couple of younger guys, McCoy Abrams and Owen Hill and Brett Logan. We have some younger guys, but then, we've got, Justin McKinney at 30 and, some older experienced guys, Jake Pulver and Adam Osika, that have been around, the PLL and the MLL. And so I think we've got a good mix. And I think we've got a good mix of American-born players, native players, and then, we've got a few Canadians sprinkled in.
That's awesome. It's nice to it's I think that's going to be the most exciting part is this first couple weeks. Now, what are you expecting going into this scrimmage against the Bombers? I don't know if you've ever coached against Neil anywhere before or had the experience of meeting him, but kind of what to expect from him and his team.
I actually know Neil pretty well. We actually played. He was a younger guy, and I was an older guy. I played parts of 5 or 6 summers at Onondaga. At the old OAC in the outdoor box there. So I became familiar with Neil. He was just a younger guy then, but have an idea. I know Jordan Jarvis. But I think with everybody, it's going to be kind of a feeling out process for a little while.
Yeah, no, like you said, that being said, you're kind of feeling everybody out. What is priority one for that you're telling your players going into the game?
We're going to be defensively responsible first. We want to get out and run and get into transition and play really fast. But, we're going to take care of our own end first.
Yeah, and that seems to be where that endurance comes in and learning these line changes is if you have the guys that are strong enough or cardiovascularly strong enough to stay out on the floor, get a nice defensive stop, pick up the loose ball, and kind of catch some of those players on the tail end of their shifts.
Yeah, we've definitely focused. We had practice last Thursday night, and our focus was on the defensive side of things and making sure that we are solid there. I think we'll be able to score some goals, but we want to make sure that we are, limiting the opportunities of the other team. We talked quite a bit and walked through, getting back in transition defense as well.
Yeah, now that is so you guys had practice Thursday night, and then I'm assuming you'll have practice sometime this week before the game.
No, we will have a shoot around before the game. We were hoping to have a practice the night before in the arena in Binghamton, but they're laying down the turf and stuff that day, so I don't think that's going to work out. So, we're going to have some meetings, but the next time we'll be on the floor together is the morning before the game.
Yeah, that is one thing that is going to be huge with this league, I think. Now, Binghamton has a nice hockey team that plays there as well in the wintertime, and you guys have one as well in Elmira. Is that correct?
Elmira has a hockey team as well. I know we have our home opener the following week on January 7th, and there's a hockey game the night before. So it'll be the same type of thing, no practice the night before, and we'll get a shoot around in the morning.
Yeah, that is definitely going to make it interesting, and that's what I always wonder with these NLL teams, how you guys get guys on the floor. Like, what are you telling your guys to keep their? Because, like you said, so much of this league, yes, you'd like to have your practice, you'll have your shoot around, but it really falls down on a player responsibility, making sure they're doing the work when you're not there.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about that before we left on Thursday. You've got to get out and run. You got to get the stick in your hands. There is a big onus on them to be responsible and take care of those things.
Yeah, and that's I think what makes this sport so much different than others is the guys love it. Like the emotion that they play with, you can see it because they've always found ways to play. They all have full time jobs. Some guys are fortunate enough to work year round in lacrosse, such as yourself. But it's not every player's kind of thing. Now, how do you find how do you switching hats from going because you coach at Penn in high school, but now
Yep.
you're coaching a box team. So I mean that's two totally different styles. How do you kind of go back and forth?
I'm fortunate. I've been around the box game enough, and we actually incorporate a lot of box concepts into my field lacrosse team as well. So there is a difference, but right now, with my high school kids, I'm just doing a lot of skill work and conditioning. So it's easy to kind of stay focused on the box piece. Come March when I'm coaching both teams at the same time, might be a little bit different.
Yeah, that's more where I find it's going to be so cool to see this. And so many of these players, like you said, all of you that are year-round guys are mostly coaching in other programs, and to see how this kind of flourishes. And I think that's where you're really going to see these fan bases because you get kids that are from the town, they know guys that coach.
I'm fortunate enough to have two guys that I coached in high school that are on our team. Bradley Voigt and Austin Finger are two guys that played for me all through high school and are now playing for me in Elmira. And there's actually a third one, JJ Voigt, who's playing for Binghamton. So Friday night, there'll be three guys that I, coached all the way from they were little kids all the way up through high school on the floor Friday night.
That's got to be a great feeling to be, to really watch it come full circle, and now you've got three of them out there that you're playing with. And I'm assuming they were field players with you as a kid, or do you guys run a youth box program as well?
They were field players with me, but we in Penn Yan, we're very fortunate. We were one of the first communities. The gentleman that was the coach before me, Harry Queener, in 1992, we had a box built. So we've had a box in Penn Yan for 30 years, and have been very fortunate. We've had I think we're up to 5 guys now that have played in the NLL that have come out of our box program. That's where they got their start. So we were ahead of the curve a little bit. Now, tons of communities have boxes, but we were kind of one of the first to have one that the kids spent a lot of time with.
Yeah, and that's huge because 97% of the NLL they say now is Canadian. So for you
Yeah.
guys to have 5 and having that experience, and it seems to be all these coaches and players, you've got a good mix of guys who didn't find it. But what I find so amazing is that with all these coaches, you guys all have box experience. But talk, if you don't mind, explaining. Basically, you would have had to travel all over the place to play box. It's not like if you grew up down here, it was just around for you. You were traveling to the Onondaga and elsewhere.
When I was playing, I played in Onondaga. I played up in Ganawagi for a little bit. I played up in Akwesasne. So it was a labor of love. I was driving an hour and a half to a home game. Sometimes 4 and 5 hours to get to an away game. I was lucky. I had a couple of guys that I was friends with, and we traveled together, and it was just something that we did. But no, it certainly wasn't as easy as packing up the truck and driving 5 minutes to a box game. No.
Yeah, and that's what I have found so crazy about this is the amount of talent from guys and the dedication it takes. And that's my favorite part about talking to people like you is, so how did you discover or when did you discover that you wanted to put in that box commitment? Like how did you become aware of it?
I was in my late 20s at the time, and I had played a little bit around here, played in Rochester. I actually went to the Syracuse Smash tryouts back when the Syracuse Smash had a team, and met Freeman Bucktooth there. And Freeman, kind of hooked me up with Kent Lyons and Onondaga. And that summer I ended up playing in Onondaga and, kind of fell in love with playing there in the old outdoor box. And from there led to playing some games in Akwesasne and led to playing some games in Ganawagi and, just kind of meeting different people and traveling around.
Yeah, that's cool. And I just found box a year ago myself. I was always a field guy, and like you said, it grabs a hold of you once you actually see it and get to experience it. And I think all the fans in Elmira and Binghamton are going to be in for a treat because yeah, you watch it and then you want to play, you want to be involved in it. You're going to travel, whatever you guys need.
I think we're going to get a lot of the crossover hockey fans. I think especially in Elmira and Binghamton, they're used to going to see, hockey, and I think that they're going to come and check it out a little bit, and I think we're going to both be able to get a pretty good fan base of those people that may not be totally familiar, but they're going to like the action and become fans.
Yeah, like you said, having the hockey teams there, you guys know they've got the fan bases, especially to still have American hockey teams in the areas because they're it's such a, I don't know, you see so many of them come and go throughout the years. Living in Glens Falls, we've had just in my lifetime probably 8 teams try to play in the Civic Center. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Elmira's been pretty consistent. Elmira's always had a team. Binghamton's always had a team. Right, even at our arena in Elmira, there's another just strictly ice hockey arena attached to the big arena, and every time we've been there, the place has been mobbed with kids there playing hockey.
Yeah, I bet. And that's where I think you're going to start to see, especially if they've got those kind of facilities, you get a couple hockey kids to watch this, and then the summer box starts to pick up. But now you're giving all these guys a chance to play pro in the winter. It's, yeah, I love what you guys are doing, and I cannot wait to see it on the floor. Thank you so much for your time, and I cannot wait to get out there, and I'll meet you Friday.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.